So transient filtering is the first section of such a switch mode power supply. There are several configurations of such a transient filtering section. I have shown here once again a very basic scheme of transient filtering. The input comes from here. You have the live and neutral. So let me note it down. Live and neutral. So this is then connected to two capacitors in series, and the middle one is connected to the ground. Some of the power supplies do not have them, but yeah, depending on the power supply, you have this as well. The live is then connected to a fuse, and then this is connected to a MOV. Then starts the series of filtering system with inductors and capacitors. Depending on your power supply, it can be that you only have one of this section with the capacitor and the inductor, or you have multiple such capacitors and inductors connected in such a configuration. At the output, there is again a capacitor. This is again connected to two capacitors in series, and the middle point is connected to the ground. This capacitors in the beginning, which is also connected to the midpoint in the ground, is called CFYs or capacitor Ys, Y capacitors, and the remaining ones are X capacitors and X inductors, and that's why you see this designation CY and CX, LX and LY. Okay, I have marked it, but yeah, so these are the X capacitors. These initial ones, the CFY capacitors, as I said, some of them skip it, but some of them have them as well. This initial one, the CFY one, could be that it is already connected directly to the plug of the power supply. This additional one might be missing, but once again, as I mentioned, keep on repeating it again and again. You might also find them on the board. So what does this do? This is basically a basic LC filter which filters out a lot of noise. And this section basically, what it does is it removes the noise that might be present in the line. So it suppresses the voltage spikes in the power supply, like I said, like you can see here. But this section also, what it does is it also prevents the noise from re-entering to the power supply, to the power lines, because as I mentioned in the block diagram, you have a switching section here. So this creates additional signals, and the noises which could be created, there is a possibility that it re-enters our power lines. This would then disrupt other electronic devices connected to the power lines. In this section basically prevents that as well. And as I mentioned before, you might have one close to the power supply. This whole section would be connected to very close to the power plug, or you will also find them on the circuit board of the power supply. So you might have one or more of them connected.